Good day to you, ma'am. My name is Divine Kate B. Pailona, and today I am going to report my assigned topic, which is the section 20. So um, I don't have a picture to show, but I can discuss it to you. So first is the section 1. I know, section 20. So number 1, every bill passed by the National Assembly shall before it becomes a law. So all section is all presented in the assembly hall. So be presented to the prime minister. If he approves the same, he shall sign it. Otherwise, he shall veto it and return the same with his objection to the National Assembly. The bill may be reconsidered by the National Assembly and, if approved by two-thirds of all its members, shall become a law. So, um, the section 20 says that the law is only approved if every member of the Prime Minister approved it. So the Prime Minister shall act on every bill passed by the National Assembly within 30 days after the date of reception. Therefore, otherwise it shall become a law as if he signed it. So also the Prime Minister shall have the power to veto any particular items in an appropriation, rev- revenue, or even the tariff bill, but the veto shall not affect the items to which he does not object. So the next is the article number 9. So the article number 9 is the prime minister and the cabinet. So the section 1 is the executive power shall be exercised by the Prime Minister with the assistant of the Cabinet. So, the Cabinet handed by the Prime Minister shall consist of the heads of ministries as provided by the law. So, the Prime Minister shall be lead, no, by the lead or head of the government. So, also the Section 2, the Prime Minister and the Cabinet shall be responsible to the National Assembly for the program of the government and shall be determined the guidelines of the national publicity. So the next is the Section 3. The Prime Minister shall be elected by the majority of all the members of the National Assembly from among themselves. And the next is the Prime Minister shall appoint the members of the cabinet who shall be the heads of the ministries, at least a majority of whom shall come from the National Assembly. So the National Assembly, which is the members of the cabinet, may be removed at the discretion of the Prime Minister. And the next is the Section 5. The Prime Minister shall appoint the deputy or the Prime Minister from among the members of the National Assembly. The Deputy Prime Minister shall head a ministry and shall perform such other functions as may be assigned to him by the Prime Minister. Or the Prime Minister shall also appoint to the deputy ministers who shall perform such function as such may be assigned to the law or by the prospective heads of the ministry in that particular section. So the next is the section 11. The Prime Minister shall have control of all ministries. So section 11 said in the article number 9 is the the prime minister siya ang magbahala if or siya ang mag-control if sino yung ma-assign dyan sa direct to that specific thing. And the next is the section 12. The prime minister shall become a commander-in-chief of all armed forces of the Philippines, and whenever it becomes necessary, he may call out such armed forces to prevent or suppress lawless violence or evasions, insurrection, or rebellion in case of invasion or insurrection or rebellion, as I said earlier. Imminent danger. Therefore, when the public safety requires it, he may suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus or place the Philippine or any part thereof under the martial law. So the next is the Prime Minister shall appoint the heads of bureaus and offices and the officers of the armed forces of the Philippines from the rank of brigadier general, or as we said, the one-star general or the commodore, and all other officers of the government whose appointments are herein otherwise provided for, and those whom he may authorize by law to appoint. However, the National Assembly may be law vests in members of the cabinet, courts, or the head agencies, the commissions, and the boards of the power to appoint the inferior officers in their respective officers, which is the Prime Minister. And the next is the Section 16. All powers invested the President of the Philippines under the 1935 Constitution, what I referred earlier, and the laws of the land which are not herein provided for or conferred upon any official shall be deemed and are hereby vested by the Prime Minister, as I said earlier, unless the National Assembly provided otherwise. So the next is the Section 13 first part. The National Assembly may withdraw its confidence from the Prime Minister only by electing a successor by a majority votes of its members. So, ma-approve lang yung um, section na yon if lahat ng mga electing prime ministers approve sa doon. And the motion for the election of such successor shall be debated and voted upon until after the lapse of 3 days from the submittal of that particular section. And the second is the Prime Minister may advise the President in writing to dissolve the National Assembly whenever the need arises for a popular vote of confidence on fundamental issues, but not on the matter involving his own personal integrity. Whereupon the President shall dissolve the National Assembly not earlier than 5 days nor later than 10 days from his receipt of the advice and call for an election, and a date set by the Prime Minister shall not be earlier than 45 days nor than 60 days from the date of such dissolution. However, no dissolution of the National Assembly shall take place within Man or Aurora Boulevard and Madison Avenue, Quezon City on August 19 of the Philom Life building again on August 20. This time causing severe destruction on the Far East Bank and Trust Company building nearby of the armored car and building of the Philippine Publication Corporation, as well as the building of the investment develop or etc. And the Daily Star Banking whenever another explosion took place in Railroad Street, Port Area, Manila, also on August 30 of Joe's Department Store on Corrido Street, Quiapo, Manila on September 5, causing death to one woman, injuries, and some 38 individuals. So the next is that radical left has increased the numbers and areas of operation of its front organization and has intensified the recruitment and training new adherents in the urban and rural areas, especially among the youth. And also there are some kinds of group, and the example of this is the Samahang Demokratiko ng Kabataan, or as we said, SDK. This is a radical youth organization that was formed after KM leadership disagreements with the SDK, and the KM activity took part in student league protests of the 1970s summary. So upon the declaration of the martial law during time of President Marcos in 1972, many activist political opponents of the Marcos administration were incarcerated. So the original 1973 Philippines Constitution, before all amendments were adopted, allowed for the creation of a powerful executive branch under the President and the Prime Minister. More so, the 1976 amendments to the Constitution allow the president to assume the role of the prime minister and exercise legislative powers until the martial law had been lifted. So before, there is a um, martial law during the Marcos times, but today in our generation, there is no martial law. So yes, madami talagang na biktima but that by that time, but it I think in my own opinion, it was also good for our countries because there are so many terrorism at that time. They are using the students who is very active in school and very bright like that, and they use those students, they poison their mind to join the such activists such as um, SDK, Samahang Demokratikong, like that, as I said earlier, and yeah. And also in 1969, entering the University of the Philippines in Diliman, um, someone took a notice of the vibrant atmosphere of free discussion of social issues and politicals in the campus, which was actually propelled by a small group of student activists. So they were nevertheless articulate and quite knowledgeable. They were daring in their radical indictment of the bankrupt and elite dominant. And also by the late 1970s, the small group had become a mass movement in the campus, and someone was already one of them who had cast in a lot of struggle for national democracy. So some student joined this particular activists. It's because they thought that they can suspend such martial law like that because during the time of Marcos they faced script and fascism by the time of Marcos Marcos. So the next is the fifth constabulary security unit, or should we say FCSU, was one of the most notorious unit of the police force during the martial law period, known for the employment of various torture methods such as water cure, electric shock, rape, the extraction, the severe beating, and other sexual abuse against captured activists. So before, there are so many things happened to the students in UP Diliman by that time. As I said earlier, there were water cure, which is the water blasting, and the electric shock, the rape, the extraction, the severe beating, and also the sexual abuse. And that will be all for my report, ma'am. Thank you for listening.